talking about. Want this one or? So, Ihachi, we're holding by Ihachi.
Thank you.
If so, if we're dealing with if kibbutz, if laundry, the laws of laundry are only on something that you would have to rub with both sides. So the question is, beged nami, then you should be allowed to wash a garment as well, as long as you don't rub both sides. You put the water on and it's fine. The Gemara says that's not actually true, because beged, when it comes to a garment, which is different than leather, a garment would be a woven garment, right? This is what we're contrasting here. A garment that's woven, that has strands that go under, over, like that, versus leather.
They had like a sheep, shear. No, it's a goat hair, no?
And I'm not familiar with that. Or maybe they use that. That was, so that's okay. Hold on that. So it says that shriyasizo kibusai, just to soak it is already considered laundry. So in other words, there would be a problem with a garment on Shabbos just to put it in water. Rava says that there wasn't a problem with water, it was only a problem with rubbing it. L'tameh, he follows his opinion. Damarava zorak sudalamayim is chayiv. Oh, 1 second. I'm confusing two things here. So when it comes, we're dividing up kibbutz. Wasn't a problem with just water, but you're still not allowed to do that with a beged, because when it comes to a beged, soaking it in water, kibbutz by leather wasn't a problem when you add water. That's what we said before, that you're allowed to wash off that spit from the garment. On Shabbos, you're allowed to put water on it, but when it comes to a garment, then you're not allowed to use water, because Rava says, Zarak Sidulamayim is chayiv. If you throw a cloth into water on Shabbos, it's chayiv. But Zarak Pishtan Lamayim is also, and Zarak Pishtan Lamayim is also chayiv. Okay, he throws in another detail. Pishtan would mean flaxseed. If you put flaxseed into water on Shabbos, it's chayiv. Now, Bishleim Sudar makes sense if Rabbi says that if you put a cloth into water on Shabbos, it's chayiv because of kibbutz, because that's considered like laundry. When it comes to a woven garment in water, is considered laundry on Shabbos, which is a malacha, which is one of the forbidden labors. Ella zera pishta in my time. What's the reason why you can't put a flaxseed in water on Shabbos? Say that maybe it's gonna sprout. Mekadeach actually means to like make a hole, but it means that it germinates. Want to get a machine?
No, don't go. Don't mess up when it comes. No. Don't worry. I could get one after. But don't worry. We have half an hour between learning and davening. I'll go to the house.
Okay.
I just didn't go before because I didn't have the key, and I didn't want to wake anybody up. But after we're done learning, somebody will be awake. Thank you.
Okay, so, but if you throw a seed into water, it's mekadech. It's going to germinate, and then it's going to sprout. So that would be a problem on Shabbos to cause it to sprout. What's the problem? The zayreya, planting. If that's the case, so why do you say specifically flaxseed, chitivesari, nami? It should be a problem to put wheat or barley also into water if it could sprout. Why did he only say flaxseed? There's Hanach, when it comes to flax seeds, I'm not sure exactly if I know the science over here, but islay riri. When you put it into the water, it gets it turns thicker. It turns like
They use half discharges.
discharges. Okay, rear is like a mucus. It
Right.
gets thicker. So
Rear thorough,
like to saliva,
Yeah.
right? So what's the problem with the rear, right? I was going to explain. Yachi, that's the case. So then shlachim nami shlachim are hide skins, the untanned skins. Also, if you put it into water, it's also going to make like a mucus. It's going to get like that sort of texture where it gets thicker. The water gets thicker. It gels. Right. The Achi Slachim Nami should be a problem if you say that that's a problem. It says Hassam covered Lisha. The problem is that you're not letting them make to knead a dough. So when you put the water, the flaxseed in the water, it becomes thick and it turns it into like a paste, which is considered kneading. And if you put the wheat in the water, that we didn't say that wouldn't be a problem. So our issue over here wasn't sprouting. We switched the issue. It's not that it's going to sprout it. The issue is that it's going to make it into like a paste. And making a paste is considered kneading. It says, what about hide? That also makes it like a paste. When you put it into water, it gets thicker. So it says, but there's no problem with kneading with the hide. It's only when it comes to the things that grow from the ground. Okay. I'm not sure if it's that it grows from the ground or that you have small pieces that get joined together because of the liquid. That's kneading. Maybe by the hide, it's just one big chunk. It's not considered kneading just when the water gets thicker. It's when you have smaller pieces that get joined together via the liquid comes one. That's considered kneading. Dorosh Rava. Okay, we have a new. We're finishing off the old piece, but okay. Rava taught mutal kabis minal b'Shabbos, that you're allowed to wash your shoes off on Shabbos, and you're allowed to rub the shoes to clean it off. Amalei Rav Papa l'Rava. Rav Papa is a student to Rabbi. He says, "V'amar Rav Chia Barashi." Chia Barashi says, "Zimn segin avkim nekam de Rabbi shech shchalei masanim b'maya," and he didn't actually rub it. All he did was shech. Right. That means he put it in the water and he agitates the water. Right. So, but not to actually rub the shoes. It says "Aval kibus loy," but you're not allowed to do kibus, which is laundry. So Hadar Uki Rava Amayra. So Rava then after Rav Papa corrected him, Rava said, "Dvarim shamarti lefnechem tos biyadi." He put up an interpreter, someone that would say over the teachings. The loudspeaker. Put up the loudspeaker, and he said that this that I told you before, that you're allowed to wash your shoes on Shabbos, tos and biyadi, it's actually a mistake. I made a mistake. Ram kach amru. Rather, this is what they said. Shich moter kibas aser. You're allowed to put it in water and agitate the water, but the problem would be to actually do laundry. That would actually be a problem. Okay. We learned in the Mishnah that when you do laundry, it's b'makom kadosh. It has to when you launder the garment that had the blood on it, it has to be done in a place in the Hazara. Okay, Minani Mili, how do we know this? Tana Rabbanon. It says in the Brisa. Could have said it said in the pasuk, but the Brisa quotes the pasuk. The Chabes Makom Kadosh. They have to wash it in the holy place. It says sometimes when the Gemara asks the question where there's a pasuk for it, it says, "You asking me that question? I have a pasuk that's wrong. Why are you asking that?" But it says clearly that it's supposed to be b'makom kadosh. But it could be that what it wants to tell me is the next part of this. Shvir's kli cheres. What about if it absorbed? If you cooked the chatas in an earthenware pot, it says over there that you have to break it. You have to break the pot. Now, if you read the pasuk didn't have. It says that you wash the garment in the makom kadosh, If it's a klicheres, you break it, and it didn't have actually that you break it b'makom kaddish. In the makom kaddish that's done in the Azara was on the first part of the pasuk where it says what to do with the garment. So it says, how do you know that you have to break the klicheres also b'makom kaddish? Talmud Laimar v'klicheres hashetvush b'yishaber. It says, I guess the emphasis uklicheres. I guess it's the emphasis in and the klicheres you break. Continuation from before. Mriku shtifa between the chayshes. What about mriku shtifa? What about the rinsing of the copper keli? Minayin. How do we know that? The purging. Rinsing and purging of the copper keli. How do you know that also needs to be in the Hazara, in the Makom Kaddish? We're just continuing the same pasuk. We're showing us that in the same pasuk it says, where it says Makom Kaddish, it says also that you should purge it and rinse the copper vessel that cooked the chatas, which means that it should be in the Hazara. Okay. So you walked from the Jackson, what's it called? Jackson North? What? Which hospital were you in? Aventura. And you walked over from Aventura? You took a ride?
My mother was in the hospital.
Oh, your mother drove you?
I don't know how she got it.
Okay.
I don't know how she got there.
Okay, so, okay. Okay. Did she approve of you walking out? No. Zachimer b'chatas.
I'm an adult.
Zachimer b'chatas. Okay. This is the
one nurse. One nurse. No, was it true?
Okay. This is what's stricter by a chatas than by other things. We said that when a chatas, it's what's stricter about the chatas is that if the blood spritzes or if it's cooked in a vessel, all of these things are stricter by a chatas. Gemara says v'suleka. This is the only things about the blood spritzing on a garment and the cooking it and that's the only thing that's stricter about a chatas. You don't have when the Mishnah says zeh chaymer, this is the strictness. It sounds like to the exclusion of everything else. That there's nothing else that's strict about a chatas. Problem is, but we do have other things. For example, shnichnas dama lifnim. We have a certain chatas that the blood of the chatas is brought into the kodesh. It's brought into the heichal. You don't have that by an oila. You don't have an oila. On Yom Kippur, you have the sira chatas and they're both parachatas and sira chatas. They're both chatas that go into So you don't have this by any other karbanos. Gemara says, well, we weren't talking about chatais apnimius. We're only talking about the chatais chitzainis. Only talking about the outer chatas. So that's not going to be. That's not part of the equation. We weren't even dealing with that type of chatas. It says, well, if you're dealing with that type of chatas, so then I have another problem. It says, she'im nichnas dama lifnim psula. In that type of chatas, we have a rule that if you bring the blood of a chatas into the heichal, you invalidate the chatas. So that's the strictness of a chatas. So the Gemara says, well, we hold like Rabbi Akiva damar kol adamim shenichnasu leichal chab psula. It's not only by a chatas; it's by all karbanos. That if you bring the blood in, that's according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, that holds that it's not just the chatas. The pasuk says kol chatas shenichnas dama. But the pasuk says that if the blood goes into the, it becomes pasul. Rabbi Akiva says it's not only referring to the chatas. Okay, that answers that question. That's referring to all karbanos. And now the Gemara says, but shechem mechapra malchai v'krisis. What about the stringency of a chatas, that a chatas is so significant that it atones for karis? The Gemara says, we're dealing with chatas d'shmias kol. We're talking about the chatas when someone swears, he's administered an oath and he lies about that. He swears that he doesn't know testimony. And so that chatas is not a chatas that comes for karis. So we're dealing with the chatas that's not for karis. Okay. The Gemara says, but came to an arba matanos, but we know that the chatas is more significant because you have to put the blood of the chatas on each of the four corners. The other sacrifices, it's on two which are four. So the Gemara says, well, Rabbi Yishmael damar kol damim tunim arba matanas al arba karanas. He says the other karbanas, according to Rabbi Yishmael, the other karbanas, you also have to put. So we're going like Rabbi Akiva over here. We're going like Rabbi Yishmael over here. We're figuring out a way that this is the only significance of the chatas is the following. So Gemara says, what about Ika Keren? We know that the blood of the chatas has to go on the corner. Also, we have Ika Etzba. There's also, you have to use your finger. By the other sacrifice, you have to sprinkle it. But Ika Chuda, there's also the edge of the corner, right? That's on the edge of the corner. The other karbanos, you just throw it in general onto the corner. It doesn't have to go specifically wiped on the edge. It's interesting how it says that. 1 out of 2 or 3.
He was mentioning.
We were mentioning. We said this is a stringency. We didn't mean this is the only stringency. We took stringency. This is one of them. Okay. Up to a new Mishnah. Thank Dr. Stein for getting us through the Gemara on Friday. Okay. Beged sheyatza chutz l'klayim. It's a little problem because the garment that got blood of the chatas on it has to stay in the azara. Let's say it didn't stay. It has to stay in the azara till it's laundered. Let's say it was taken out of the azara. So the rule is nichnas mechapsiv makom kadosh. You bring it back in. It went out. You bring it back in. However, what about nitma chutz l'klayim? Let's say it got tamei, and now you have a problem. You can't bring it back in if it's tamei, right? Nitma chutz l'klayim. So what are you going to do? So the Mishnah answers that kairai, you tear it. When you tear it, obviously it can't be a type of beged that can't be torn, like the me'il. You're not allowed to tear the me'il. It says la yikareya. It's talking about another garment that got. So what do? You tear it. When you tear it, it loses its tumah because it's not considered a beged anymore. And then you bring it back in, and then you wash it over there. The Gemara is going to discuss that this is going to create a problem.
It goes l'mafreya. Really, it did get tuma. So now that it's tuma, you take apart. I mean, it's only tuma as long as it's a.
Only as long as it's a beged, yeah.
It only becomes tuma if it's a beged.
It only becomes tuma if it's a beged, and when you break it, when you make it not a beged, you tear it, then the tuma goes off, and then you can take it in. And then you're going to wash it. There's a catch. There's a little catch over here because you have to wash the beged, so you can't just have non-beged. So we have to get it somewhere in the middle where you're breaking it to the effect that it's not considered a beged l'gabi tuma, but it's still considered a beged l'gabi kibus. That you have.
And do we know where that?
So the Gemara is going to go through like this. Okay, kli cheresh yatza chutz l'klayim. What happens about if it's an earthenware vessel that was yatza chutz l'klayim that left the azara? Klayim is the term that's used when it had in the Mishkan, had it surrounded by curtains. The azara, what was comparable to the azara in the Beis Hamikdash was called the chatzer of the Mishkan, and the chatzer of the Mishkan had something called klayim, which were these a fence, sort of like a curtain fence with ropes that held it in place. So it left the area that it was allowed to be, the earthenware vessel. We said you had to break it, the makom kadosh, and now it went outside, so no problem. Nichnas v'shayv makom kadosh. You bring it back in. Nitma, let's say it becomes tamei. It's problematic. What are you going to do? So nitma chas l'klayim noikfa. You make a hole in it, and v'nichnas v'shayv makom kadosh, and then you bring it back in, and then you break it in the makom kadosh. The same thing with klina chayshas, a copper vessel. Sheyatzu chutz l'klayim nichnas. They bring it back in, and marka v'shayv makom kadosh, and they purge it in a holy place, and then nitma. If it became tamei, chutz l'klayim, then peichasai over here means you have to make a hole in it, and v'nichnas marka v'shayv makom kadosh, and then you bring it back in, and then you bring it back in and you purge it inside. Gemara asks, Maskefla Ravina, Kairai, you tear it. If it became tamei, beged amarachmana. It says that you have to wash the garment, and here it's lost the status of a garment if you can tear it. A lot of begedu, it's not considered a garment. Mashayer be kedei ma'afiris. We're talking about where you left on it a kedei ma'afiris. The does it mean like the hem, the amount of the hem? Is it still ma'afiris would be like a small cloth. What does it say in the English? Does it say like a handkerchief or something? So it's still considered a beged. So 1 second, if it's still a beged, so how did it lose its tumah? The rule is if the garment is torn most of the way, the majority of the way.
It is an ashtray.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Maybe it's because it's a small thing.
Uh-huh. If it's
What we had before, no, the 3x3.
Yeah. So it would be the amount that's left would be about a 3x3, 3 fingers. But once it's torn the majority, then it loses its tumah. When it says Eini, is that how it works? When do we say that if you tear a garment, the tumah goes off? That's only if you did not leave the amount of a mafiris, the amount of that small cloth. But if there is the amount of a small cloth, then it stays tamei. So how are you telling me that you're allowed to bring it back in by doing this? Gemara says midrabanan, the tumah that stays there is only rabbinic, and because we have the halacha that you have to launder it in the holy place, so that overrides that rabbinic tumah, and we bring it back in to launder it. Yeah, because of the mitzvah of kibbutz to launder it. Follow what happened over here? That what we quoted was not substantial to be a law that's going to affect us from bringing it back into the azara. Okay, now it says we're on top of Tzadakei Amud Aleph, yeah? It's 95a. It says Kli Cheres. What happens if it's an earthenware vessel, Sheyatza, that left the azara, and it became tamei? It says you have to break it and then bring it back in. Problem is, Klei Amarachmana. It says that you need to, that in the azara, where you have to break a vessel, not if it's v'lo kelihu, but it's not considered a keli if you broke it already before, if you made a hole in it. So the Gemara says nikah b'sheish katan. You made such a small hole that it's still considered a keli, but it loses the tumah. It's like somewhere in the middle. It's like it satisfies this problem, but it doesn't negate the fact that it's a keli, which is interesting. My comments over here, they quote from Gemara Shabbos that there are five levels of a hole inside a klicheres. One of them is that the hole is so small that it leaks out liquid. The next one is that the hole is a little bit larger, that not only will it leak out, but also the water would come in. It would seep in. And then it goes on, all different levels. Whatever the case is, this is the type of hole that it's not considered. A sheirish katan would mean that maybe like a small root could grow through it. So it's still considered a keli regarding breaking it, but it loses the tumah regarding bringing it back into the azara. Klei nacheshus, what about a klei nacheshus? Going to make a hole in it, it's not going to be a keli. Then how are you supposed to purge it? Since you're supposed to purge the keli. So it says valav kleu. It's not considered a keli. The Gemara says deratzif mirtzafu. After you make the hole, you bang it in a way that it spreads out the copper so that it seals up the hole. So you can fulfill the mitzvah of marika, even though it wasn't considered the vessel. Now the problem is, what's his name asked me this on Yankee Teitelbaum. Asked me on Shabbos. He said, when it comes to metal kalim, when you make it back into a keli, the old tumah comes back. Metal has like the memory, tumah memory,
So
that
the
if you
question is obvious,
reconstitute it without using a mikveh, why? I guess I would have liked them to say that they used it, that they put it in the mikveh and they brought it back in. By klicheres, mikveh doesn't help, but klinacheshas it helps. So they say, but maybe the mikveh is already the shutaf. It says to rinse it. Maybe that's part of it, and you have to do that in the azara. It would have been great if they had a mikveh right at the edge of the wall. They could put it in and take it up into the azara.
like a free entry.
That's basically what we need. We need to get it, to put it into the mikveh and get it into the azara at the same time. Right? That should happen at the same time.
This is the Rabban.
Does it matter?
Oh, the tumah comes back only with the rabbanon. Is that what the answer is? Oh, I didn't.
Biblically, to remove tumah, it's not returned to.
Very good, excellent. Okay.
So
The
that's
Stein
outside,
says from one of the notes over there that it's. Do they quote who says that, or that's just
No.
everyone?
Oh, wait.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't
It's only
say
rabbinic. Yeah, that's the teretz to Yankees' question. It's only a rabbinic that the tumah comes back. The memory of the metal.
But the tumah has to be there
It
before the
became-
breaking. Before this
No,
puncture.
no. But we're talking about. Yeah, okay. So 1 second. There's two things here. One is chatas was cooked inside the copper, and so it needs to be purged. Problem is that it left the azara, and then it became tameh. You need to bring it back into the azara to purge it. Problem is that I can't bring it back in because it became tameh while it was outside. How do I get it back in and purge it? So we said, so we make a hole in it. So the tumah goes off. So the tumah goes off, you take it back in, no problem. So Gemara said, 1 second, but you need to have a vessel to purge it. It has to be a purge vessel, not just. So we're saying now that it's still a vessel. How's it still a vessel? Because you banged it back.
It says in the English that it's all in Tosfos. The fact that Tosfos didn't raise the same question I begged it before is proof. I'm not reading it right. It says, you just read it.
What number is it?
Number 5.
Yeah.
Tosfos
What the rabbi do?
objects that if destroying the vessel's designation as the attempt a viable option, then the Gemara above would have suggested a similar procedure in regard to the previous case of the garment. The fact that the Gemara there did not do so was apparently inferred that destroying and then restoring the utensil does not serve our purposes because the restored utensil is to be an entirely.
So Tosfos has another interpretation here. I was translating it that you bang it. When you bang it, you spread it out so it will close
But
up
that's
the
how
hole.
copper anyway does.
Right. But Tosfos wants to learn that you turn the whole thing inside out, but you banged it inside out. And, yeah. Well, I saw that before from Tosfos, but because of this problem, there's another problem that if you fix it, it becomes a new vessel. It's not the old vessel that you had. I said no, it's the same vessel, but you turned it inside out. So somehow that's going to resolve the issue. Okay.
You look at it like tshuva, and then stillness.
Turns it over into Zachias.
Yeah.
Rish Lakish says, Me'il, we mentioned this before, that there's one of the garments of the Kayan Gadol, which was a gown. And this gown, it says that you're not allowed to cut it. Shenitma, if it became tamei, the blood of the chatas spritzed on it. Then it became tamei. Machnisa pachas shalish al shalish. It's always confusing to me. I have to remember. Shalish al shalish is lashon nekeva instead of shleisha, right?
Right.
That's lashon nekeva, so it's referring to etzba'is. Shleisha al shleisha is lashon zachar. It's referring to tvachim. So anyway, so you see, because it doesn't say like what shalish al shalish what, but shalish al shalish because it's lashon nekeva, it has to be etzba'is.
Interesting.
So if it's if the problem over here is that the me'il. Let me read to the end.
Why
And then
would
you'll see.
Rashi say that it's both?
For people like me that don't know the Hebrew.
Yeah.
So machniz pachzim mishalish al shalis mechabsei mishum shenema lo yikareya. There's a problem over here. With other garments, we said that if it becomes tummy outside, so then you tear it, and then you tear it the majority, and then if it loses the tumah, and then you bring it back in, and then you can launder it inside. The problem is over here that you're not allowed to tear it. What are you going to do? So the solution is you bring it in less than 3 by 3 tvach, less than 3 by 3 etzbais. So 3 by 3 etzbais, like a small finger, the tiny cloth. Bring in a little bit, and then you just you wash that off inside. So it's not enough tumah, it's not enough of a beged in the azara to be metama.
So what's he doing? If it was larger, it's moving his hand in a little bit at a time, and then he does three, then a little bit more.
Yeah, that's what it would
so
seem.
Eventually, he's got, and then he walks in. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is though, I don't think I don't think you can bring in more than 3 tvachim at all ever. You would have to like roll it over like a little rod, roll it over and keep washing it like that.
So he does two and 3/4, and then 2 and 3/4, and then
no, because once it's 3, the garment entirely is tummy.
Right.
I need to wash a little piece of it to get the blood off. So what I would do is I would just take that little piece, put it into the doorway. And someone in the doorway would rinse off that blood.
Make a spot clean.
Spot clean.
But without putting the whole bag.
Without putting the whole bag. In other words, even if there's a whole strip of blood, I would have to keep returning it to rinse off that spot.
Well, so I'm saying if it was on his arm,
I think
you'd have to take it off.
No, because once he takes it, puts it on, once three etzbais go in.
But he doesn't put in 3 etzbais.
Here.
He just goes under 3 etzbais. They clean it for him. Then he moves in a little bit more. They clean it for him a little bit more. They clean it for him a little bit more. They clean it for him.
No, but the
No,
problem
you're
is like
saying
this.
it's on him.
Once it goes
You're
in,
saying, but you're saying the garment has to be off.
Is he wearing
like
it
this.
or
Look,
he's not wearing it?
this is
Is he wearing it or not?
3 etzbais. All right. So once you bring in the 3 etzbais, so then this beged is tummy. So I can't bring in 3 etzbais into the.
Right.
So what I would have to do is, if I clean the blood that's right here, and then I want to clean the blood that's here. So if I pull it in more, it's already 3 etzbais that's inside. So I'd have to bring it in like this. I'm keep putting back
A little
the
bit
part
at a
that got
time,
cleaned.
like a scroll.
And the bottom of the scroll goes
Because
back.
I can't have the 3 etzbais of the beged inside.
But that was cleaned already the first.
No problem.
Doesn't matter.
It's not. The problem isn't the blood that's clean. The problem is the tumah that's on the beged. The dirty garment is allowed to be inside. It's supposed to be inside. The tumah that's on the beged is a problem. You have to keep the beged outside. L'chayra, that's the pshat. Okay,
But it's
so
not when he's
obviously he's
working.
not wearing it.
Yeah.
Have to change. Maseches Zavachim Daf. Ravad Barav is a question. It says regarding garments. It says oven varakin, thick garments or thin garments. Im ben mishum shalosh al shalosh. These are rakin must mean. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Soft.
Rashi says feltura. You see she'ina arug. Felt is pressed wool. You know that felt is pressed wool. It's not woven.
Not woven.
So, but that's the French word. Felt. So, what it says about that, it says Ein ben mishum shalish al shalish. But there, it's not shalish al shalish because they're thicker. So in order to use a thin garment, a very thin cloth, what's considered an eligible to be considered useful would be 3 etzbais by 3 etzbais, a little tiny. Once you're using with something very thick, in order to make it useful, then you need 3 tfachim on 3 tfachim. We're saying here that really you can bring in more than 3 etzbais, and it's still not a problem if it's a thick garment. Gemara says, "Agav aviem chashive." So what will we explaining? We're explaining 3 etzbais of a garment is considered a davar chashiv, is considered a beged. 3 etzbais of a thick garment is not considered a davar chashiv. He said, yeah, but this, because that's only if I have a little cloth of a 3x3. You know, when you they have like materials, they give you samples,
Right.
So it's all in one stapled together, like
Right.
a whole bunch of things. So when you have just that sample itself, that's worthless if it's under 3 etzbais. And if it's a thick thing, it's worthless. But over here, it's not worthless when it's attached to the full garment. Agav avihan chashive, because it's attached to the larger garment, 3 etzbais itself would still be chashiv. Okay. Now the Gemara says
it's like a collar with a shirt, you know.
It's attached. It's significant. But by Yeshiva Samanim, there's a problem over here that when you wash off blood, it says you have to use.
Wait, so when we say we can't kasher the gadol's almond?
You can, but you have to take it in less than 3 fingers at a time.
But I thought you just said if it's thick.
Then really, if it's thick, it should be more than 3 fingers. Why do you say only 3 fingers? It should be 3 tfachim instead of 3 etzbais. He said no, because over here, since it's attached to the garment, it's still chashiv even at 3 fingers. But by Shiva Samanim, there's 7 types of detergents that were used to clean off the blood. Now, it's a Mishnah in Nida that discusses this, and one of these 7 types is
Tide.
not tide.
Time for commercial.
Is urine. Now, the reason for that is because I think the ammonia that's in the urine is a cleansing. Okay. So, it says that when you the blood of a chatas and you have to get rid of it, you have to launder it. You need 7. Excuse me. 7 detergents. And the same as with when you have to launder tsaras, you need to use the 7 detergents. And the problem is Vitanya, and we started in a brisa that one of the parts of the ketores you have to cleanse, and it says that what do you use? Use virus or whatever you use to cleanse it, but you don't use meraglayim. Shem machnis meraglayim mikdash, because you can't use urine in the temple. So how are you going to use this cleanser? So maybe we'll say badi shiva samana. Maybe you say you just mix it all together, so it becomes nullified in the other. To add all the detergents together, you take one mix, mix it all together, and and you use all the detergents in one go. It says vatana, and you can't say that because the Mishnah says if you're in shleika sidron, oishaver shiva san keachad leyasav leiklum. You can't do it like that. You have to actually do each one needs its own independent washing. You have to literally wash it 7 times in different solutions. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just mix it into another one. But it says Tanan. It says that each one needs to be what's it called when you rub it together. What's the word I'm thinking? You take
2 pieces of cloth
and you rub it together.
No, that's what
Ribaisen is
rubbing together.
No, ribaisen is a grater, right? What's eisen? Eisen means the metal, right?
Oh yeah.
Rib means the rub.
Yeah, but it's still. I think it also means rubbing. Because you're rubbing one thing.
Okay, so it says you have to do each one independently. The Gemara says al demivlu b'reik tafel. The way you do this is you put it into saliva. There's a special type of saliva called reik tafel, was very poignant. At the if a person doesn't eat the entire night, in the morning the saliva that he has in his mouth is more sharp, and that's considered could be a detergent for this. What we do is you take the meraglayim, you mix it into the reik tafel. The Rish Lakish reik tafel tzarich shiyem kol echad v'echad. Each one of these detergents, the solution, the way it was made, was reik tafel together with it. Reik tafel together with it. So they had 7
choices of words: eating, scraping, chaffing, friction, attrition, scouring, or kneading. Pick one of the above.
And what was the question that you put in? Rubbing two things
One
together?
word for rubbing two things together.
Is
So what's
the word scrubbing?
Yeah, but scrubbing is when you take something else. What do they say? Scrub? Okay.
Yeah, because
They
scrub is
say
an
scrub,
external
right?
piece that you rub against something.
He must scrub the spot 3 times.
Scrub. Okay. Okay, I'll go with that. Okay, so we gave an answer. We said that how did we get the meraglayim inside? Because he used reik tafel to overpower it. That wasn't a problem. It's only a problem to bring the urine into the temple as it is in its original state, not when it's mixed with the reik tafel. We changed topics. New Mishnah. Whether you cooked inside the clay pot, not the clay pot, the clay nechashas, the copper pot, or you poured into it from a kli rishon, right? Poured it from the kli rishon. When it was hot, you poured it into the copper pot. They need to be purged, whether it's kachik kachim, whether it's kachim kalim. Reb Shimon says, Kachim Kalam ain't in a mikra shtifa. It doesn't apply to Kachim Kalam. We'll see exactly. Reb Naftali, I know you're going to ask me what's this big Taisvus talking about. This is the famous Machlekes Rabbeinu Tam and Rashbam regarding Iri Kli Rishon. Iri Kli Rishon is Mavashal. That's this Taisvus. It's in other places also, but this is Iri Kli Rishon. When you pour from a pot that's on the fire onto something else, that considered the pouring, that considered cooking when it hits the other object. Is it hot enough to cook it? Or do we say it's not hot enough to cook, it just causes absorption?
What do
You
we
get the difference?
So if you pour from a milchik pot into a neutral pot, you're saying, the question is that enough to make the neutral pot milk?
No. Actually, everyone agrees that if I take hot milk and I pour it onto a fleshik pot, that the pot's going to become treif because the milk is going to get absorbed.
Okay.
The question is like this. Let's say I take hot water and I pour it onto milk and meat together. And there's a rule, I'm not allowed to cook milk and meat. I pour it onto it. Was I just mavashel the milk and meat? Did I violate the Torah prohibition of bishul? Or is bishul only when the fire is under the pot? Or something else? Or if I have a raw piece of I don't know, whatever, something raw piece of meat, and I take hot water from a kli rishon and I pour it on top on Shabbos, did I just cook it?
Of course.
Is that considered bishul? So it's machlekes. If iri kli rishon is considered bishul, kli sheni,
There's no
right?
fire on it.
There's no bishul b'kli, right? Bishul ain't no bishul in a kli. How does the song go? The kli shlishi. I think it's a kli shlishi. Kli sheni officially is not mavashal. But the reason why we're makbid about a klisheni is because something called kali abishal. There are certain things that cook very
Is it only on Shabbos?
on Shabbos,
Yeah, we
Spanish
hold that?
mackerel, the other things. I'm sorry.
Is that only on Shabbos that we hold that, or
Well, it's only a concern for Shabbos, besides for basar b'chalav and other things where you have the laws of bishul. Shabbos is the most common for it to be a concern. Okay. So, Tana Rabbanan, we're starting a brisa. Asher tevushal ba. It says that an earthenware vessel that was cooked in it. So, ainly yella shebishal ba. I would only know that the earthenware vessel needs to be broken if you cooked in it. Ir l'teicher reiteach minay. How do you know if you just poured hot water into it? Which we're not talking about hot water. We're talking about hot chatas gravy. You poured hot chatas gravy into it, that you have to break it as well. Talmud Daimar, pasuk says, "Asher tevushal b'yishaver." That was cooked in it, you have to break it. So it says the word boy, which tells me that anything that's absorbed in it, bushel boy in it, that means that anything that gets absorbed, it has to be broken, even if it wasn't actually cooked. Boy Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama has a question. Talo ba'avir tana mahu. Like a interesting question it's going to ask. Let's say you didn't put it into the the oven. The old ovens were clay. It says if you hung it in the air space and you heated up the oven, so it got roasted not by being at the edge of the oven, but by being in the airspace of the oven, and it just cooked like that. So his question is like this: Abishal ubilua udekapad rachmana. When do I have to break it? So over here, I would have to break the oven, right? Because it was considered a clay pot. So do I say that it needs to be cooked and absorbed, and then that's when I have to break it? Maybe cooking in it, even if it's not absorbed, because it didn't touch it, so there was no absorption. But is it absorbed? I would think when I read the pasuk, based on the context, that my problem is that it absorbed.
Besides the fact you're obviously sick, you're probably making a mistake. It's going to be on YouTube. What do you accomplish?
I have no comment in front of the doctor. The doctor recommends.
I'm saying that as a person. I don't know the history. I don't do it physical, but I just see a person who can't stop coughing and it looks like he's sick as anything.
Yeah, you should probably rest. Do you have a car here? Oh. Do you have a phone to call your mother?
Everything's in the house.
Maybe
Okay,
just
so
call.
let's move on, Carol. Let's get this together.
Don't worry. I'll close this up and I'll cough. I just need to clear up my lungs.
No, yeah, Over Shabbos, and he was in the hospital. He had tubes in him.
So it's even worse.
He's not sick. He had a seizure. But that's the issue.
Nobody's sick also.
I don't know about sick. No, he had lung cancer. They put stuff all
One second.
That's not.